This is the third video in the series you've been watching so far on how to build a Blackboard Collaborate session plan. During the last video, you learned how to add content files to a session plan. In this video, you will learn how to arrange your content files to build your plan outline, and you will also learn how to add actions to these files. This will all be done in this lower white section of the screen, which is reserved for your plan outline. This is the partially created plan we left off with at the end of the previous video. Now we will bring these content files down to this area to arrange them in the preferred order. Actions will also be added to these files. Let's start with this Welcome Audio Check Whiteboard file that is located at the top of the list. Based on what it says, we will want to display this screen before the live session begins. This whiteboard is meant to help participants check their audio ahead of time. Let's take a quick look at the Properties panel over on the right side of the screen. We will want this file to load automatically, so this checkbox should remain selected. Now let's drag the file down to the outline section of the screen. It's selected. Now drag and drop it. Notice that the program did not prompt us to convert this file because it is already in whiteboard format. We will take time at this point to save the plan. Select the floppy disk icon on the toolbar, and please remember to save your plan as you go. An important point should be emphasized at this time. The preferred method is to bring your content files down to the outline section in the actual order that you would like to present them during your live Collaborate session. A best practice for moderating live online sessions or meetings is to follow an agenda. Once you have created your agenda for your session, you can then follow it to create your plan and arrange your files in the correct order. As you build your plan, you can easily rearrange your files either by dragging and dropping them or by using this up or down arrow on the toolbar. The next file that needs to be added is the session plan agenda. It is already in whiteboard format, and it should display at the very beginning of the session. Select and drag it down and position it. Now that the agenda is in place, you will want to start recording the session. Recordings are very helpful for reviewing a previous session or for individuals who may have missed one. There are a couple of ways to add the action to start the recording. For this example, let's just select the window menu and then choose the Actions option. Notice that the menu is now detached and it has become a palette that can be positioned anywhere on the screen. Let's move it up a little more right under the Properties panel section of the screen. When you select the plus sign beside the Recorder option on the palette, you will see a list of options. Select the Start Recording choice with your mouse and then drag it over to where you want it in the outline. In this case, it should go right after the agenda. Let's take a second to save the plan before we move on. The next action for this session is to administer a poll. Participants will be asked to indicate if they have ever used Blackboard Collaborate to hold an online session or meeting. We'll close the Recorder option, and now, beside the poll option, select the plus sign. You will see all the available actions. The poll type needs to be set first. Drag that option to the plan outline. Now let's look at the Properties panel. Notice that beside the words poll type there is a down arrow. When selected, it will show you all the different options you can choose for a poll. The appropriate option for this type of poll is either yes or no. There is a whiteboard file that has been prepared with the question for this poll, and it needs to be added now to the outline. We will also add the action to publish poll statistics to the whiteboard so there can be a brief discussion during the live session. Select it from the Actions palette and drag it over in place. Now let's do a very quick save of this plan. Now let's add this Blackboard Collaborate interface whiteboard to the plan. If you recall, it started out as a PowerPoint presentation, and when we brought it into Illuminate Plan, we converted it to a whiteboard file. Watch what happens as this file is dragged and dropped into the outline section. As you can see, Illuminate Plan has separated the file, so there are now 9 distinct individual slides. This way, during the live session, each slide can be observed and discussed individually. It's hard to tell much about the topics for each of these slides by reading their current descriptions. Illuminate Plan allows items in the outline to be edited. If you would like to rename these slides to make them more user-friendly, watch how this is done in the Properties panel. We will select Slide 1 and then go to the Properties panel, and notice that in the description field we can add something to make sure we understand what this first slide is. We will add screenshot of Blackboard Collaborate screen. Notice over in the outline how the name or description of the slide has also been changed. It's time to save this plan again. Besides just viewing this PowerPoint presentation on the whiteboard, let's also distribute it to participants during the live session using the file transfer action. Let's close the polling action on the Actions palette and select the plus sign next to the file transfer action. Drag the Load File for Transfer action over to the outline. Once it is in place, notice how the program has highlighted it in pink, and also there is a message highlighted in pink at the bottom of the screen. It states what needs to be done in the Properties panel for the file transfer to work. A value is needed in the file or URL field. To do so, go to the Properties panel and select these 3 dots, the ellipsis, a Choose File dialog box like this one will pop up. Select the PowerPoint presentation from the list and then choose the Choose button. Notice how the pink highlighting has disappeared, and now in that file URL field is the name of the PowerPoint presentation you'd like to transfer. Let's do a quick save of the plan before we move on. According to the session agenda, an MP4 video will be viewed at this point. It needs to be loaded. Since this video is a multimedia file, we will choose the plus sign that is next to the multimedia option on the Actions palette. Drag the Load Multimedia action over to the outline, and you will notice the pink highlighting has appeared again. And looking at the highlighted message at the bottom, it states that the file URL is required. Let's go back up to the Properties panel and choose the ellipsis. And when the Choose File pop-up menu opens up, we'll select the name of that MP4 file and then select the Choose button. Notice how the pink highlighting has disappeared, and now in that field for the file or URL is the name of that multimedia MP4 file. Now the Play Multimedia action needs to be added. Drag it over to the outline. Here you will see that the pink highlighting has appeared. And it tells us we need to go back to the Properties panel and fill in the file name. So we'll go back to the Properties panel, choose the ellipsis. When the Choose File dialog box opens up, we'll choose the name of that MP4 file again, select the Choose button, and now the pink highlighting has gone away. The very last step is to stop the multimedia. So we will go back to the Actions palette and choose the Stop Multimedia action, drag it over, and now this multimedia file should be ready to view during the live session. Let's save our plan. The next file to add to the outline is the Active Link Example Whiteboard. That should be fairly quick to do, and here's another way to add files to the plan outline besides dragging and dropping them. You can right-click on the file name, and when the pop-up menu pops up, choose Copy. Then go down to the Outline section, place your mouse where you would like to paste it, right-click and paste. So that is the second way you can move your content files from the top down to the Plan Outline section. At this point, we are going to add the session agenda slide again. This is so a brief review of what has occurred during the live session so far can be completed, and also the participants can get a quick preview of what's to come. We will copy the agenda from the list and paste it in the outline. The next step is to set up a web tour. Select the plus sign located beside the web tour option on the Actions palette. Let's go ahead and close some of these actions so we can see the web tour better. We're going to drag the Go to Web Tour URL action to the plan outline. Notice we have pink highlighting again, and down at the bottom of the screen it says the property URL is required for this item. So we'll go back up to the Properties panel. Let's input the URL in the corresponding field in the Properties panel. You can copy and paste it like this. It is a best practice to also share the URL for the site you are viewing with your participants. To do that, drag the Published Web Tour URL to Chat action to the outline. That action will display the URL to the participants so they can copy it and then refer to it later. The last action that needs to be added is Stop Web Tour. Let's drag that action over to the outline. Quickly select the floppy icon on the toolbar and let's save the plan again. Now it's time to do some application sharing during this live session. This option is used when you, as the moderator, want to share something directly from your computer with the participants. Choose the plus sign beside Application Sharing on the Actions palette. As the options show, you can share an application, share your desktop, or share a screen region. For this session, we will choose to share an application. Drag the Share Application action to the outline, and you will see the pink highlighting, which tells you you need to take further action in the Properties panel. The application is required. Since the application is being shared from your computer, you will input the name for it in the application field on the Properties panel. To help you remember which application is going to be shared, we will edit it shortly. You also want to select the Presenting checkbox. Share Application doesn't give you a lot of information, so we're going to add to the description, and we're going to put what is going to be shared at this time. Notice how the outline has also been updated to change the name to Share Application Blackboard IM, which is for Blackboard Instant Messaging. The next step is to stop sharing. So we will choose that action from the action palette and drag it over to the outline. According to the session agenda, there's one last application that needs to be shared. Add the Share Application action to the outline where it needs to go. The pink highlighting appears again, and it tells us the property application is required. This time, we will type in this field up on the Properties panel what we're going to be sharing. It is the Blackboard Collaborate training course that has been created in Blackboard. Remember to select the Presenting checkbox. You can, if you need, to go in and remind yourself by editing the description with a user-friendly name. Again, notice that all the changes in the Properties panel are reflected down in the outline. You want to make sure that you choose Stop Sharing. So from the Actions palette, we will choose that and drag it down. And now let's save this plan one last time. This video has demonstrated how to create the outline for a session plan. It has also shown how to add actions that are required for the content files that make up the outline. The final video in this series is next, and it will demonstrate how this plan will work during a live Blackboard Collaborate session.